In this video, I want to break down just a simplified approach towards financial planning, or what I call income mapping. This is definitely one of the biggest barriers for personal trainers, and not just making training a full-time career, making enough money to get by, but making it a long-term career, something you can continue to grow year after year. So I'm going to give you guys my simplified approach that I've been using for the last decade, and we use with students in the academy. Coach Joe Drake here, and I make these videos because I know being successful in the fitness industry is a challenging go for people in their first 5 years. So hopefully you guys take away something from these videos in order to help you guys continue to do this long term. And in this video, I want to go through what I call income mapping. All right, and this is probably similar to maybe just goal setting, financial planning that some of you guys have done in the past. But for myself, I know, especially the first 5 to 8 years training, working with clients, I did this along the way, but I don't really feel like there was a good format for me to stick to it or really plan in a way that was going to help me. I would go about setting up these goals of, hey, this is the amount of money I want to make this year or next year, but then there was no real bringing it down to those smaller variables, which you guys know, if you guys are in fitness training, helping clients, it's all about breaking it down into these digestible pieces, just like if it's a habit, right? You want someone to change their nutrition, we have this big overarching goal, but we really need to just focus on what are the daily habits, what are the monthly habits. And so that's kind of what I want to break it down to with the financial piece, is breaking it down into these weekly, monthly, maybe max quarterly ways of looking at your income in order to maybe have a better grasp of what we're doing. So first off, call it income mapping because I look at it as here's where you are right now, right? Boom. Here's your financial goal. There are a lot of paths there. Whether you do one-on-one training, you teach classes, you do small group, nutrition coaching, there's a lot of ways we can get there along the way. And so I think breaking it down into these pieces and more almost really monthly based planning, it starts to help you figure out where you want to go or what path you want to take, right? You want to get to a certain place monthly based upon, your needs, your expenses, your bills, where you want to grow, you want to go on vacation. And it can help you plan and make decisions on when do I need to find a new client, all right? Or when do I need to be forecasting that I need to find a new client? When do I need to, or is it a good time for me to add in an additional service like nutrition coaching? So that's just a different way for us to visualize it, is this kind of income mapping. What do I want my journey like to get there? All right, now I will say I'm going to give you guys a little bit on here, but I have also created a little done for you guys resource. So you'll find somewhere in a link below this video, you guys are going to find a download, right? No strings attached. You don't have to opt in for it. I just want to give you guys what I use, which is a Google Sheet that's going to do all this for you. So I'm going to kind of talk about, I think, some of the benefits of breaking down your financial goals into more monthly based approach. But then I have a sheet for you guys that's, just done for you. So you can plug in your clients, plug in your income. And so feel free to check that out after this video. And if you guys like this video, don't forget, subscribe, and I'll continue making more content like this for you guys. All right, so first off, the difference. Let's say, just big overarching goal, mostly because it's a really popular, sexy goal right now, but that's this big overarching, right? We see the whole year, this big picture. But then how do we break it down? Not only how do we break it down month to month, but then how do we actually get to that standpoint even month to month? So I think it's nice for us to break it down into these smaller pieces, because the surprising thing is, even based on where you're at in the country and the training rates you guys might charge, it doesn't take that many people. Does not take that many consistent clients to get to some of your financial goals, which I think is actually empowering versus this being overwhelming and scary. So the traditional approach towards financial planning or trying to set your goals would be, all right, cool. So 100,000, I'm going to divide that by 12, right? And that's going to be my monthly. Let's say it's 8,600 something. Boom. Boom. All right, so that would break it down into, all right, I need to make $8,600 a month, or approximate. I'm not here to do the math for you guys, right? But break it down into those 12 months. But still, it still doesn't tell me a lot. All right, so again, the traditional methods that kind of I went through and learned was all right, well, now I need to break this down. Let's say I break this down into my 4 weeks. And that allows me to come up with what my weekly income number looks like, which I still think is more helpful, because I think the thing you guys got to think about with training, or you probably know at this point if you've been training long enough, is your training rates or your training income, it's going to fluctuate. It's not only going to fluctuate month to month, but it's going to fluctuate week to week. But the good thing is if you're starting to be on top of your planning for the next month or two, trying to figure out and forecast where you're at and where you want to be, you can do some things to offset some of this. Most times, when your clients are going to travel, right? You know when they might have vacations and other things. And so there's a little bit of some proactive action you can take to try to even some of that out, okay? So either way, getting it down to that weekly income amount. And then again, the traditional method would then be saying, all right, we're gonna take that amount, my weekly income, and I'm gonna divide that into my training rate, all right? So for example, let's say, right now you charge $70 an hour. You would just take that weekly income, I'm gonna divide it by 70, and that's gonna give you the number of hours in a week, right? The number of sessions that you need to be training. So I think this method is helpful, right? This is how I initially was planning and trying to forecast and get to where I wanted to be. I said, hey, let me see where I'm at income-wise right now. Let me set some reasonable reach goals for the next 3 to 6 months, and then come up with this and break down, okay, now I know exactly how many training sessions per week I need to get to based upon what I'm charging right now. That's helpful, because that's just gonna identify the gap, right? Right now you might be training 16 sessions a week, and maybe you need to get to 22 in order for you to get to that income goal. Work backwards, right? So if we know most people are training twice a week, and right now I'm at 16, I need to get to 22, all right, I need 6 more sessions, you only need 3 more clients twice a week. So it starts to make things a little bit more feasible. So I want to add a couple layers to this, because I think that overarching framework isn't a bad idea, but I think it's also a little bit naive to think that this is going to stay consistent month to month throughout the year. If you guys have been training for more than 3 to 5 years, you probably have started to identify a little bit of the flow, meaning like your flow throughout the year. There are going to be times where, at least with your consistent clientele, you're going to be a little bit busier. You may or may not live in an area that's very seasonal. For example, right now as we're shooting this video, I'm here in South Florida. We have a lot of people, seasonal, who come down for the season. They go away for those hot summer months, and then they come back. So it doesn't mean you can't get most of your clientele to be local, but many coaches and trainers who do really well, right, they plan for being busier during certain parts of the year. They plan for this to be changing on a monthly basis. And that's one of the reasons why I think the income, although the yearly is still the important piece, I think looking at it monthly and quarterly is probably more realistic, because you can better forecast and know what's coming, right? Knowing that if you're coming into summer months and you have a handful, let's say you got 5 or 6 seasonal clients, that's gonna be a pretty big income drop for you. And for you to be able to forecast that out for the next month or two, again, for one, it helps you maybe plan better throughout the year, save some of that money that you're making so that you can offset some of those lower months. Or if you're smart and proactive, I think taking this approach and the approach you guys will find in the sheet below, it also helps you be more proactive, so that you're not just dealing with these big sways, but you're doing what you can to even it out, right? You might get to a point where because of that, you're able to really, really ride these highs, make a ton of money, right? Make great money during those busy months. And then even when it slows down in the summer, have some things to offset it. Maybe do some small groups that you don't normally do, just for a certain period of time. Maybe and this is the magic cue, this is something that's worked well for me, maybe take some of your clients that are here year round, and during those slower times, maybe try to encourage them to train a little bit more, right? Rather than having to go out and find a bunch of new clients that then you might be overloaded when your seasonal clients come back, right? Based on how you want it to all flow, is just encouraging people to say, hey, why don't we start training like an extra session a week for the next month or two? Let's see how you do. I just want you to get some extra results, coming into these summer months. And you'll be surprised. Most of your clients will be like, yeah, let's do it. It's a great idea. They need that kind of encouragement from us as coaches and trainers, but I think breaking it down from this monthly standpoint is maybe a better way to go, and forecasting month to month, because then you can start to see, you say, all right, cool, well, I know right now, let's say right now I'm at 10 grand a month in training, but I know I got 2 people next month, May 16th, whatever it is, that they're gonna be leaving and going away for a month, 2 months, 3 months. All right, cool, well, I already need to know I gotta be doing things now, because the problem is most trainers wait until, boom, those people leave, and then they're like, oh, what do I do now? All of a sudden when you see your income drop, instead of trying to forecast it a little bit and being more proactive. And that's just a slightly different approach, right? Your own business as a personal trainer, whether you work for someone, you work at a gym right now, whatever it is, you got to look at it that way, or you're never going to get to financial stability or real financial success that you're looking for if you don't think about it that way. So the other thing I want to point out, aside from breaking it down monthly, and this sheet's gonna be easy game changer for you guys, is keeping in mind the benefit of looking at it monthly too, is in a given year, and this is me being, I think, very reasonable, it's probably more than this for some of you guys, and it has been for me over time, is I think you almost have to plan. You've got to build in and I'm gonna go up to 20% based on where you're at in your career, is based on your monthly and your yearly goals. I think you gotta overshoot by 10 to 20%. And the reason I think you gotta overshoot is because I think this is your normal drop-off rate. Now, I don't have overarching industry statistics to prove this. It's more my own personal experience and other coaches and trainers, is that even your most consistent clients, shit's gonna happen, right? Life's gonna happen. Some of my most consistent clients over the last 16 years, 10 to 20%, either A, they've just got things that come up week to week, right? You already know, you're like, oh yeah, I do have a couple clients, even if it's not the same ones, I get a few canceled sessions every week. That's just real life. Their kids get sick, they get sick, something comes up at work. You gotta plan for that. And again, that's like your consistent client cancellation, but then even people who are great clients, you're gonna over time have 10 to 20% that just fade away, right? You may have not have done anything wrong. You may have done really well in your guys' training sessions, but they move away. They're gone for summer months, and then it's tough to get them back on consistently. Their kids' schedule changes. These things just happen. Some of them are avoidable if you're a proactive coach. Some of them aren't. It's just something you got to plan for, but I think you got to build it in. So you'll find in the sheet that I included for you guys, I built that in for you already, right? You set up your yearly financial goals. You set up your clients that you've got right now, the income that you have, right? A little bit of planning that way, and it builds in, what you're probably going to take away. So, right, if everything goes perfect and everyone shows up for their sessions all month, you might be planning on making 12 grand, but in all reality, you're probably going to be like 10 grand or under because of that normal 10 to 20% drop off. That's just part of the industry. So I think that's a reason that, looking at this monthly, it also does a couple things for you. You'll find by being able to play in the sheet, in that Google sheet, with some of your numbers, looking at some of your training rates, it also helps you see how just a very small increase or change in your training rate, a $5 increase, something that's very reasonable, can have a massive impact, by the end of the year. And oftentimes for busy trainers, if you're training 25, 30 hours a week, you make a $5 increase in your training sessions, all of a sudden you're talking like a 6 to 10 grand increase in your income throughout the year, which is pretty huge. Your clients, it's small enough, they're not gonna notice it, they're not gonna blink an eye, they're not gonna think about it, but for you and I, that ends up being a big impact on what we're doing training-wise, but I think building that in, all right? So just a different perspective on thinking about your income, thinking about the training income. There's no doubt there's benefit in taking these big overarching goals, whatever yours might be, breaking it down into a monthly average, which you're still gonna end up having an average, and then using that to break it down into weekly training sessions. And I think you should do that. But then from that big overarching goal, I think you should, try a method like I've included in the sheet where you're more so planning each month ahead, saying, all right, cool, let me estimate, because the frequency of your clients' training sessions is gonna change. And like I mentioned, you can get it to increase if you want, if you're proactive about it, but that lets you plug everybody in with travel and say, okay, cool, here's what I'm estimating I'm gonna make this coming month. And it lets you be a little bit more proactive about pricing increases, right? Knowing throughout the year when it might be appropriate for you. Obviously you're not gonna do it multiple times a year usually, but at least timing-wise, when it might be best for you to offset some of the income, as we're not all good at saving the money that we made a few months ago, right? I know you can relate to that. But it'll also help you be proactive and like, all right, cool, well, I know this is coming up. I have a little income dip coming up in these months. I need to be proactive and thinking about what's my plan. Am I already generating some leads and clients, which you should be doing all the time anyways? Am I gonna run like an additional program or a small group? Maybe I'll do a little bit of nutrition coaching with some people throughout the summer months to offset some of that so that you guys can have a little bit more stability in what we know can be a very unstable industry. So hopefully you guys took away a little bit of something from this. And like I said, I think a lot of the magic is in the download, so check that out. Let me know what you guys think or if you guys have questions, and I'll see you guys back on here soon.